Please welcome to the stage a woman who I call mother. All right. It's the incredible Natasha Leggero.
Thank you.
Hi. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Do I get this one?
Yes, you do.
You have more interns than I've ever seen in my life. How do you have so many interns?
They're full-time producers.
How do you have 20 producers for this show?
This is a tough show. This is a fucking complicated podcast.
I can't get one intern to work for money for my podcast.
Here's why. This is the most complicated podcast that isn't a documentary about a murder. That's what I would say. There's a lot of moving pieces.
There's like 3 people sitting at a booth right over here.
It's a big operation.
9 people in the green room. It's amazing. And it's very impressive.
And here's the thing that's cool about it. That's why it all seems perfect and seamless. Natasha.
Yes, how are you?
You wrote a book. It's called The World Deserves My Children.
It is now out on paperback. It was a critical success, so they re-released it on paperback. It actually came out last year.
Great.
I'm on a new tour for it.
Okay. Well, we got you the second go around. Now,
you don't have kids.
I don't.
Do you want kids?
I think so, yeah.
Oh yeah?
I think so.
You only need one.
Here's where I'm at. I'll tell you where I'm at on this question. I don't really like either direction. I can't see a life of just kind of planning the next trip till I'm too old for the trip and then dying.
No, it sucks all around.
But then I see my friends that have the kids exhausted. And so it seems like your choice is between exhausted and yet deeply fulfilled in some way they don't care that much about.
Here's the thing. The trick that no one really ever mentions, just have one. Like, one is an accessory, 2 is a lifestyle. I have a whole chapter about it. Just have one.
Just have one.
Yes, it gets a little weird when they're on the balcony praying for a sibling, but you know what? You just like keep going on vacations with your friends and you're like, these are your pretend siblings. Like, so they don't feel like lost and alone.
Right.
Friends.
And do you think that's working?
It actually is, Jon.
Hell yeah. Cool. All right.
I mean, it seems to be working so far, I don't know.
And you talk about freezing your eggs in the book?
I did freeze my eggs. I had a child in my 40s. Are you saying woo or why? I can't hear. But yeah, I think that a lot of people don't know, like, when you're 38 as a woman, that's kind of like a good time to freeze them eggs. And it starts going downward, quick. But
how do they make sure, like during the brownouts? Are you like if the power goes out at home, are you like, oh, I got to check on the eggs? You know what I mean?
They put them in a freezer that you can maybe go visit if you want in West LA. But what do you mean by the brownouts?
Well, just saying that like sometimes the power goes out. I just like if you have ice cream in your freezer and you forget about it for a year, when you go back, it's not good because at some point the freezer got warm.
That does
happen.
I'm
saying?
Yes. But fortunately, you're paying for them to freeze them, so they like kind of keep you abreast of where the eggs are going. But yes, it's. I only got one that actually worked out of like freezing all my eggs at 38. I think I had 10 eggs, and then they traveled with me, like you said, through a few different freezers. I had them transferred. Yeah. Then I met my husband when I was 42, and then I had him bust his nut on all those.
Right.
I don't know I think that's the medical term. And then he blasts on all of them, and then they became 3 embryos, and they put 2 up me. They all died.
Oh.
And then that is not a joke.
No, he's laughing at me being unable to deal with how real this is.
But then the one that I did, the embryo that I did put up inside me became my beautiful child. So, I feel like as long as there's a few claps. I just want to get the word out that people know, women, if you do want to have your own child, which, by the way, I was totally okay adopting, but a lot of men aren't. Like, would you want someone who wasn't your?
I'm open to it.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm open to it. Although, I like so few people.
You're like, I want to like at least like the.
So, yeah. I mean, it's interesting.
Well, I tell my daughter all the time that she's so lucky because she's an only child. And I told her, I said, sometimes people have 10 kids in their family. And she was like, 10 kids? That's a lot of nannies.
See?
I was like, I know, so many au pairs for daddy to choose from. Would you get an au pair?
What is that just a nanny from Europe?
It's a nanny from a more sexually liberated country who comes and lives with your family, and then she sleeps on one side, and then your husband jerks off in the shower and thinks about her on the other side of the wall.
Oh, that's cool.
It kind of all happens.
Hey, as being a parent to only children, an only child, are you worried that you'll be weird, so they'll be weird? Like when I was a kid, there was an only child, and his parents let him sit in the front seat. I think that really fucked him up. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like the mom's in the back seat. That fucking shit was weird and it sucks.
That's weird.
You know what I'm talking about? Those kids, though.
But listen, I do think that the only children thing was sort of a myth that was propagated in the 80s because they're like, oh, they're so weird. If you look it up, like only children are super intelligent. They make more money than other kids. They were just like given, because like usually parents are older. They're giving more attention to them. I don't know. My main goal with my child is to just shield her from Taylor Swift because... Hear me out. I just feel like every 12-year-old I've ever talked to, their only touchstone for all of culture is Taylor Swift. Like if you tell a 12-year-old girl that you don't like Taylor Swift, like my friend brought her 12-year-old over and she was like, what kind of music do you like? And I was like, I don't like Taylor Swift. She's like, what? What do you like? And I was like, I don't know, like folk music. She's like, Folklore by Taylor Swift. And I was like, no, I don't know, like country music. She's like, Taylor Swift has a country album. And I was like, I don't know, like 1989 by Taylor Swift. I was like, I don't know, I like 80s music. And then she's like, 1989 by Taylor Swift. Like, I just feel like never in culture has there been such a chokehold on us that if you say you don't like someone, you're forced to go live in a cave. Like, and then I told my 45-year-old white woman friend that I didn't like Taylor Swift. And she was like, wow, Natasha, I didn't know you hated women. Thought you were a feminist. What was the question?
Oh,
that's my main. Like, do I want her to be weird? Yes, I hope she is weird. I mean, weird is good, right? Like, I don't want her to just be like coasting on the mainstream. Were you?
Coasting in the mainstream? First of all, this doesn't coast. This doesn't have a coast setting. This thing grinds. This thing skitters. This thing skitters along the surface, falls down. But Taylor Swift, I like her. But the no. Hey, the climate. Did that affect your decision to have kids?
Oh my God. I have to say, like in my book, The World Deserves My Children, my whole prologue, is that what it's called? I talk about how like the election, I had this huge election party at my house and, it was so just liberal bubble, like we heated up the pool to 100 to like make it a big hot tub. And then I got like Mexican food because I thought that would be ironic when Hillary won. It would be so great because Trump,
Yeah.
And so then we were all sitting there floating with our mini burritos and margaritas, and I brought a TV out to the pool and we were all just kind of like chilling and it was so fun. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, this is getting weird. And then I asked like a friend who was there who's probably like you, like who knew what was happening. And I was like, what is happening? And he was like, if Trump wins Michigan, he's going to win. And then like immediately he won Michigan. And then I was like, cut to, everyone was like crying in the pool. People are wet. I'm like trying to say goodbye to people. It was just awkward. I got into a huge fight with my husband. I started crying. The balloons popped. Like, it was just like, and then I remember thinking when I went to bed that night, like, I don't think I'm going to have a kid. I can't believe he was elected president because I was so, like everybody else, very traumatized by this because once he said grab him by the pussy, I was like so mad that Hillary Clinton kept asking us for money. Because I'm like, there's no way they would ever elect a president who said that. Like, why would we give her our money? Like, come on, lady, this is fucked up. You're winning. And so, like, you must have had a similar situation.
It sucked.
But
Yeah.
anyway, my point is I really thought I wasn't going to have a kid. And so that was like something I really had to struggle with. But I do feel that I'm so glad I did. And when we're all alone in our bunkers, it's going to be great to have someone who has to be there with
I think
you, who can show you how to work your phone.
I'm glad. I really don't like climate change means you shouldn't have kids. The world is bad. You shouldn't have kids. I find that to be so, I don't know.
Dispiriting?
I find it to be naive in a way that, I find it to be a kind of naive and worldview that kind of parades as being cynical. And I always just, no, the problem isn't that we have, the world isn't over, and it's easy to pretend that it is, but actually the world is going to be here. And whether or not you build a beautiful family is not going to make the world. If you build a beautiful family, the world is not a worse place. And anyone who thinks that is, I think, thinking in a pretty small way.
I totally agree. And furthermore, clap for that. But furthermore, we need to produce people who are going to be at the helm of this generation. And, someone needs to fight with the other people.
Yeah. Because by the way, because they're having kids.
Exactly.
They're in Battlestar Galactica, which is obviously a seminal text for me. The Cylons have attacked the world, and the education secretary, who's far in line of succession, ends up becoming the president, and she becomes president, and the Cylons are attacking, and all the generals are like, we have to fight back, we have to fight back, we have to fight back. And she just says we have to surrender and we need to start having babies. And I always think about that because I've never read a book. Before we let you go, you have brought the wisdom of motherhood, which we don't usually have here.
I was like, I will do your show, but don't make me talk about politics.
And then you brought it up.
Well, just an election party. Quick question.
Yeah.
Are you going to have an election party this year?
I think election parties are. I think one lesson is do not tempt fate. Elections are not for parties. Elections are for grabbing the side of a table. The funny thing
remember the Obama election party?
Yeah,
that was fun.
That's the problem. Too many people remember that. But the funniest thing about being in LA from after Election Day 2016 through about March of 2017 is every person that had like a really nice house, you'd go over there and they'd say, "Do you want champagne? I bought all this champagne for election night." And so you were just getting champagne from all these showrunners. Okay. Before we let you go, does anybody want to ask a question, advice on parenthood, or advice on how to deal with your parents or how you as parents should deal with a child? For Natasha.
I need advice on how to deal with my parents, so I hope it's not about that.
Oh, well, shit.
What's your name, and you can also come up with a fake name if you want.
No, I'm RJ. Hi.
Okay.
No, I was going to say, like, if you have parents with problematic beliefs, do you have advice on how to, like, maybe utilize your relationship with them to help influence the way that they think?
Problematic beliefs is a tough one, and I do think that it's so hard because if two people do not share reality, they will never see eye to eye. And I think that coming to that point where you realize that, whether it's with a family member or a neighbor or a relative, family, friend, I don't know, like I've had it with neighbors. It is because you're like, wait, why am I arguing with them? Like they think this, I think that. I don't know what the next step is. I just know that it means that we're never going to see eye to eye. So maybe if you can even come to terms with that part of it, it can help you a little bit, even if it means you're a little pandering to them.
I've thought about this too, because we get this question from time to time, and it is very hard to change someone's mind about the world, but it is a bit easier to change someone's mind about you. And so I start from a place of your goal is not to change what they think. Your goal is to help them understand what you think. I would start with that. But I would also think my ability to change the outcome of votes is actually, you have a lot of agency, but you don't have a lot of time, and your time is limited. And so where should you put that time? And I would always think, Am I going to successfully persuade my aunt to change her worldview at 66? Probably not. But I can go out and get 3 people who weren't going to vote in this election to show up, and that can cancel out her vote without ever having to scream at her, oh, I know what your problem is, Mexicans. You know what I mean?
But as a mom, we're going to this woman, but let me just say, as a mom, it is so, the worst thing to me would be having Trump have a microphone. Like, my daughter is 6 and she does not know who he is. And like, I think that's
so cool.
so like, it's like she's an angel who doesn't know who Trump is. And like, now she's going to be in 1st grade next year. And if they're like, the president says, it is such a toxic environment. Like anything we can do, urge people that it's just the lesser of 2 evils. And it's so sad.
Yeah, it's like, why are people being mean to each other on planes? I don't know. Maybe because the president's was a massive fucking asshole for 5 years.
I know.
Let's do one more.
Yes, lady.
Hi, I'm Casey. And
Hi,
my
Casey.
question is actually about being an older parent, because I am an older parent with a 5-year-old child, and I find myself surrounded by parents who are a very different generation.
In LA, I feel like all the parents in LA are like about to die. I mean, we're all like so old.
Not in my school district in Long Beach. I feel like we are often trying to figure out how to interact with parents who actually are just very different stages of their life. How do you like help your children make friends in those situations?
Listen, I think that like I was like really like helicopter. I thought I was going to be a much more neglectful parent than I am. Like, I'm kind of shocked by it. But like, there's a lot of ways to measure yourself like beyond age. And I think that age is kind of limiting for you. You know, I think it's like people who value the same things you do. Like, you know, I prefer to hang out with parents who don't like let their kids just watch a screen during our dinner that we're having, because then my kid does it, you know, and I don't want her to do that. I think that like meals are a time to not have screens, and it's something that I'm going to die on. And, you know, it's like finding the people who just share your values, I think, instead of focusing on the age. That's what I would say.
I think that was great. Natasha,
I'm perfect.
thank you so much. The book is The World Deserves My Children, and it is out now.
Audiobook is how I recommend, because I'm reading it.
Hell
So
yeah.
why not just like listen to it while you do the dishes?
And check out Natasha's website to see if her tour is coming to a city near you.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
You're the best. That was great. That was so great.
Are you sure?